Hello, all. This is James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade, and I'm here to talk about, well, a very non-video game topic. And it's also not a movie review or not a TV show review. It's actually a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It's a topic that should actually concern the whole of society uh, across the entire world, and it's marriage. Um, but with a side of a brand new acronym that has come around and is becoming more predominant on the internet these days, and that's MGTOW. MGTOW. Um, and basically, if you're not familiar with MGTOW, you may be part of this movement without even realizing that you are, like myself. I I am a willing participant of MGTOW because society has forced me to become a participant in MGTOW. And what I mean by that is um, the movement is basically about how society stacks the cards against men in a courtroom or in the legal sphere. If a man marries a woman and when they get divorced, the man will undoubtedly be pressured legally through some means, be it child support, alimony, um, unfair splitting of assets. Everything is stacked in the favor of the women in today's legal system. And that is why MGTOW is a thing. And that's why MGTOW has naturally become a thing. It doesn't have to be the talked about phenomenon it's becoming on the internet, because it's already been a phenomenon just without having an acronym, without having any vocal uh, critics speaking in behalf of it. It's just naturally become an issue. But sadly, with all movements, be it feminism, which has basically led to the situation of MGTOW in the first place, um, you have some crazy fanatics on all sides of the issue, and the crazy fanatics are almost always the people who are seen or heard the most. And so, if someone looks up MGTOW on the internet or sees someone who is streaming in the guise of MGTOW, he can often be misogynistic, a person who is very much to an extreme, and he may have become that extreme because of what life has thrown at him. You don't instantly become a woman hater. You go through several divorces and have your assets taken away multiple times, and your kids are held in the air above you like a piece of cheese, and things like that sadly happen, and it's what leads oftentimes to the type of misogyny that we might be seeing on the internet. But I don't want to talk about that. That's heavy stuff, right? That's not interesting stuff I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the church, marriage, and what women and men want in a relationship. Women want to have kids, but sadly, that doesn't work with MGTOW very well, because even if you have kids out of wedlock, you are now instantly giving the state the ability to enforce laws against you without consenting. I mean, I suppose you did consent to it by the fact that you had sex, and you had unprotected sex, and thus would lead to kids. But was that unprotected sex with the intention of having a kid in the first place? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you do want to have kids. There's a lot of men out here that are part of MGTOW. They would love to have families, but the thought process of having a family in that way is a very scary thought process, because you don't jump off a building and hope to be the person that survives. And that's almost the way marriage and childbearing and things are in today's day and age. It it is a risk that is always going to be bared on the male side because of the way the laws work in our society. So I just recently watched a video by somebody representing MGTOW, who was critiquing a girl who's trying to be a dating coach, and she used some very comical metaphors with bananas and guacamole, or not guacamole, but avocados, and she left herself open to some very comical, humorous remarks that could be made. But the metaphor itself made sense. I mean, if you were a woman watching that, you could definitely understand that this woman is well, at least at face value, she seems like a sincere and moderate individual who's trying to give women good advice on how to find the decent men in society so that you can go about having a family. The fact is that the decent men in society are scared. We are scared to have families, and rightfully so. And there needs to be something done at a legal level to remedy this situation, or maybe not at a legal level. I want to pose a hypothetical here. So the U.S. was, if you go way back to our founding fathers, they wanted a separation of church and state in the United States. And it seems odd to me that in order for a church to marry somebody in the U.S., that you need to have an actual marriage license, which is a state agreement. It's a state licensing. I don't think that should exist. I think the church should be able to marry who they want in the eyes of God. I'm not particularly religious. I'm just going, I'm going to use the correct terminology here. So if a Catholic or Lutheran or whatever denomination of church wants to marry an individual in the eyes of whatever deity they worship, that should be on that church. And a marriage license shouldn't necessarily be a mandatory part of it. And that could at least remedy part of the problems that we're having in society today, is that women can get their marriage and men could have their marriage too. But that only solves half the equation of the laws being stacked against a man, in that a man and woman could get married without it being a legally binding contract that would then enforce alimony on the man if things went south. You still have the whole child portion of it that I don't know. I can't think of a clever fix for that one, other than senators, congressmen actually trying to champion through the legal system to make the legalities fairer. And I don't necessarily think that they're unfair, other than the fact that there seems to be an undue bias. I think some of the protections that have put in place for mothers are good protections, but they're abused. So how do we protect from having deadbeat dads without causing the problem we have in current society where every dad is a criminal if they don't have the capacity to renegotiate their child support because they lost their employment or whatever, and then they end up getting thrown in jail. There's a lot of serious issues in today's society with how it works and how everything's always stacked against the man in the courtroom. Um, it seems that sane people should be able to come to a moderate uh, agreement. That there should be a middle ground, and maybe the feminist movements that has been going on for so long, uh, maybe they need a counterbalance, which is MGTOW, and maybe a MGTOW will be able to start to counterbalance public opinion back in the other direction so that something over the course of time, not instantaneously, nothing is going to happen instantaneously, but at least maybe something can happen over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years where some protections might come in the man's favor in the court of law. But for now, I think the quickest place that we could start making changes is in the eyes of marriage. I mean, and I don't think that would I think that could be a fix for many different things. Like, for example, um, the uh, traditional issue that some religions may have with marriages of maybe same sex or non-traditional type couples. Um, if we were to separate that from the state and let religion doctrine govern religious doctrine and allow Catholics to marry good Catholics who follow Catholic standards, and for the state to marry uh, or to give unions to those who want something that's not that's outside of religious doctrine, then why not? Why not separate these things? And separating these things seems to make sense from the standpoint. Uh, if a guy wants to have a wedding right now but doesn't want to have it legally binding, just wants a marriage in the eyes of God, for instance, and maybe the woman is completely on board with that. Maybe she's in agreement that the legal precedent is too far in favor of women, and it only makes sense that her man is scared to legally bind that maybe if they did so in the eyes of their denomination in a church before what they believe in, but not technically in front of the state in which they reside or the government that they reside, that would be enough wedding for them to have to make it feel like I guess there's a stigma in society that you can't live out of wedlock, but if you were to have an actual wedding in front of all your family and friends in a church, and they all saw that, they'd know that you're not living out of wedlock, even though you don't necessarily have a legally binding marriage license from the state. Who really gives a crap about that? This is a new age, right? And new age, I suppose it requires new thinking and new ways of looking at things. And there may be some very traditional people out there listening to me right now that are thinking, "Wow, you're a nut." But I just want to say that I don't think I'm necessarily a nut. I'm just a person who would like to find a happy medium between feminism and MGTOW. But at this point in time, I consider myself fairly moderate, but I am MGTOW. Whether I want to be or not, I have to be MGTOW because it's not in my best interest to get married in the current environment. It's not in my best interest to have kids in the current environment. It is just too much of a risk. And so going back full circle to the dating coach that was trying to give women advice on how to picking up good guys, well, part of the problem is the good guys are scared to be picked up. Um, sure, we would like to find a nice girl, but we'd like to find a nice girl who's willing to sign a prenuptial. We'd like to find a nice girl who um, isn't completely enamored with the ideas of feminism and believes that society right now is a happy-go situation where men aren't completely disadvantaged in the court of law. Um, if there's girls out there who are like, yeah, I'll sign a prenup, blah blah blah, then maybe that's a way forward. But it's not that the good guys don't exist. It's that the good guys are scared because legally things are not anywhere near fair if things don't work out. So that's basically the sentiment I wanted to share about MGTOW, and what I wanted to get off of my chest, and maybe share the crazy ideas I have with marriage. Maybe if you could be married without a marriage license in the eyes of whatever denomination you are, Christian, Buddhist, whatever, that maybe that should be a thing that should be able to happen. I mean, it seems odd that a priest can't marry someone in the eyes of their denomination without having a marriage license. It feels odd that a church ceremony needs to be linked to a state document in a country that was founded on a need to have a separation between the church and the state. Let's just ponder that for a little bit. But anyway, so this is my first foray into a video that doesn't revolve around video games, doesn't revolve around giving a review of a video game, doesn't revolve around giving a review of a TV show or a movie. This is just me pondering what I think is a very critical issue in today's society, and it's maybe the issue in today's society, and something probably needs to be done about it somehow. But how we get there, I don't know. It's beyond me. It would take some actual organization, some actual boots on the ground to influence policy. And I don't know how to influence policy without sharing the message that policy needs to be influenced. So that's the point of this video. Hope everyone appreciates my dangerous foray into a political topic. And I'm going to try not to do these very often. In fact, this may be the only time I ever venture into this conversation zone. I want to keep things more to the lighthearted space I'm used to, which I guess is media and television, movies, and video games, because it's far easier to come to some unanimous opinion about what a good game is and what a bad game is. So there's that. Anyway, I hope everyone appreciated this video. If you did, leave a like. If you're interested in subscribing, go ahead. But no, I'm not this type of YouTuber. I'm not even really a very professional YouTuber. If you notice, I have a few amount of subs because I do this more for the fun of it. But hey, if you want to sub to me, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And yeah, have an awesome day and peace.